All right, we are on. Welcome to Rewriting Reality, a breakthrough show extra. I am Shiraz, and you may notice my background is a little different today. I do not have my Rewriting Reality background because we did a summit, and during the summit, all my backgrounds got erased, and I forgot I don't have the right background now. So we're just gonna have to do it with my Superman bookshelf background and just sort of have some fun today. I am going to be talking about a few things, and then I'm going to be working on attendees that show up for this particular webinar. That's right. So I'm going to put the link in the comments on Facebook. There we go. So if you are interested in getting worked on today, having your reality shift, having your reality rewritten, this is the day to be an attendee. Sound good? Last time we were here, I was here with Jessica. We had a good time. We had a good chat. I actually planned to have a guest today, but then completely forgot it because I was so damn busy. And here we are. It's me and you, and apparently Adrian, who might get worked on if she volunteers later and puts up her hand that she wants to get worked on. So, but until then, let's just talk a little bit about what's going on. Actually, we're going to start off, and I'm going to end off with this because I don't know who's watching and when they're watching. But this Saturday is Jessica's event. It is called, I keep talking about it's a night of magic and song and music, and I get the name wrong, but I've copied it. And if I can find the chat, and I'll put it on Facebook too. It is, here we go, a musical evening of giving. Yes, that's right. A musical evening of giving is coming up on Saturday. There's going to be, of course, music, and it's all going to charities, and there are gift bags. I've contributed to the gift bag. You can get a full day class with me in the gift bag. So you want to definitely sign up for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think this is Jessica's first big, I mean, it's online, but first big event. And she's got sponsors and stuff going on. It's going to be awesome. So you better be there. You better be there. Okay. And with that, giving is a wonderful thing. I'm looking around at the world today and seeing what's happening with a lot of people. And there is this really weird dichotomy in that some people are in a place of lack. So there's a fear of giving because you're afraid of giving what you have. You have so little, you have to hold on to it. And that puts you in this contracted energy space that actually causes less things to show up for you, which is interesting. I'm not saying start giving away everything you want, but when you're in a space of, you know what, I do have some, I'm able to be in choice of, I can give if I want. I don't have to, but I can, instead of I have to give, then it gets lighter for you. But then that's the other thing. There's other people in there that are in, I have to give. It's mandatory. I'm not a good person if I don't give. And that opposite side of the scale doesn't work either, because it causes you again to end up in lack because you're giving and giving and giving. And your mind may be saying, this makes me a good person. But if you're giving to the point that you don't have anything, or you're giving energy so that you're tired or you get sick, then all that giving isn't good for you. Now, in my book's right there, I talk about being a giver. And while we hear all the stuff, you need to be a giver, givers gain and all that, there's an energy people get into that I'm a giver, therefore I cannot receive, because when I'm receiving, I'm not a giver. And that's a dangerous energy to end up in, because if you're in that energy, whenever things come to you, you find ways to reject them. You find ways to get rid of them. And in other cases, you just find ways to make sure things don't show up because you can't receive, you're the giver. Right? If someone does a favor for you, you have to find a way to repay them. Someone gives you a gift, you have to balance that gift out. At least, if not give more, because if balance isn't good enough, you're the giver. You have to make sure they get more than they gave you. And this is not going to end well for you. So, just going out to the general public. Okay, there's a few things coming up. First, are you willing to step out of the story that you need to be the giver? That's moving for people. And if you're tuning in for the first time, when energy shifts around me, I tend to yawn and cough. So expect that. But there's another one that's very common that you hear: it's better to give than to receive. And that's just a weird, unbalanced thing. Sure, you want to give, but you also want to receive. And if it's better to give than receive, then you're always giving more than you're receiving. But there's an abundance of things out there. So you can actually receive more and then give. And things can still work out. I mean, if you don't receive more and more money and then give some of the money, then you're not going to have that sum of the money to give, because if you're giving more money than you're receiving, then you're going to run out of money to give. So that whole notion that it's better to give than to receive, basically you want to let go of that whole story and just take it on a case-by-case basis. Like, in this moment, I feel like giving, I'm going to give. In this moment, I feel like receiving, I'm going to receive. And I'm not going to try and create some sort of formula around it. I'm just going to go with the energy, go with what my intuition tells me. And it feels lighter, it feels easier. So, oof, okay, so let's just get rid of that story. Are you willing to step out of the story that it's better to give than to receive? And remember, you don't have to go to the opposite, that it's better to receive than it's to give. It's just get out of that story completely and create something that just works from intuition, from your connection, and you just do what you want from your inspiration. Okay, we've got a bunch of people jumping on the call. Let me see how it's going in Facebook too. Any comments? No comments. I'm the only one commenting in Facebook. Oh, all right. That's all right though. Someone sent me a message that says, "Where are you?" Okay, I think I'm here. You should be here too. I don't know what that's about. So if you would like to get worked on, there is a raise hand option at the bottom of the screen. I can see it. I don't know where it is on your computer, if you're on a mobile device or whatever, then you can click on that. I'm going to bring you up and make you a panelist so the world can see you. And then we're going to shift some beliefs for you. Now, we are live and it's being recorded, so be prepared. And there's no volunteers. This is really weird, because I know a bunch of people that are on the in the attendees, and they usually want to get work done. They're really quiet today. Okay, I can continue talking then. We were talking about giving and receiving. Why is this important now? Christmas is coming, and whatever other holidays we're into Hanukkah, if I remember, or we're into. Someone just announced a Jewish holiday. I'm sorry, I don't know all the holidays, but that's happening now, and there's a bunch of other holidays coming in. So it is a time of being with family. It is a time of giving gifts and receiving gifts and cooking meals and doing things for people. And there's just this energy at this time of year where everyone's a little bit happier. But then some people are a little anxious and grumbly and stuff. So I'd like it for people to be in a better, happier, uplifting mood where it's about empowering the people around you and empowering yourself. So, oh, look, we have a volunteer. I'm really surprised that not all the hands are up. Most of these people put their hands up. So let's bring Arthur up as a panelist.
Shiraz.
Hey, Arthur, what's going on?
I'm finding that I don't really see my own value. And like that's an issue because I'm helping a lot of people like for free, for example, with coaching like that. And I'm having trouble getting paid clients. And generally, like I'm doing that whole I'm giving is better than receiving. So I don't need to worry about receiving. So I think I had a story. So when you said that, it really clicked. It's like I actually believe it's better to give than receive. I'm not receiving very much. And so
Okay.
I kind of want to work on that.
Okay. So if you receive a lot, are you a bad person?
Yes.
Okay. Whose story is that?
My own.
That's not actually coming up true. So someone taught you that. So are you willing to step out of?
One of my best friends and mentors and coaches before, they said they told me that Giving means giving so much that it hurts. So you should always give so much that it hurts. And I've
Okay.
held that belief, and I think that's related to what we're talking about.
And is that person really, really successful?
Not at all.
Okay. Now think about that.
We just had such a deep connection, and I trusted that person. So
Okay, but that's fine because you had that connection. But if someone's telling you have to give so much that it hurts, and that person is not doing well, then that they're not in this place of success, giving you this advice of success, then you have to question the advice.
mhm,
Now, giving should not be something you do that hurts. Giving should be something you do that creates joy.
mhm.
And that's the only time you should give, is when it creates joy for you and the other person.
Uh,
Okay. So are you willing to step out of his story that you should give so much that it hurts?
yes.
Okay. So I want to go through my rules of giving and receiving. And for giving, you should never give anything to anyone unless you're okay with it never being returned. Okay. So, and it's very simple. So even if someone asks, can I borrow 20 bucks or 100 bucks or whatever it is, don't lend money out to them unless you're absolutely good with that money never coming back. Because if they can't pay you back, there's going to be resentment. Right? If they can't pay you back, there's going to be this loss that was my money and it's gone. And now, and it could mess you up financially, because if you gave them money that you thought they were going to get back and you needed that money to pay rent, then you just screwed yourself over.
But
Right?
haven't you said about how you have to push your comfort zone in every way? So that includes giving too, more than you're capable of, so that you're being abundant, kind of like
No, giving more than you're capable of isn't about being abundant. That's just you trying to push yourself.
you're supposed, like you keep telling me in various workshops, like Arthur, you're playing it safe. You're not going out of your way to
Mhm.
bigger realities. And
Yep.
it's not that I keep on giving so much that I have nothing, but I want to be willing to, if the intuition really strikes me as a win-win, to give. So I'm like very focused on like being willing to give when the moment strikes as the right thing to do. That's like
Okay. But then you have money that you can give when the moment strikes. I have a bank account that is called giving. And every month I put into that account so that when the moment strikes, I can look at that account and go, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this much out of the account. I'm going to give it to someone because it feels like a good gift to give.
Mhm.
But I don't push myself and say, oh, I've got, $300 in that account right now. Let me give 600 to push. No, that doesn't make any sense. That's taking away from how I've allocated my life and being responsible for my own money.
Mhm.
So if you really want to give a lot, you have to learn how to receive a lot by giving value into the world, getting paid for that value, and then you have a lot more money to give. But you don't do it the other way where you're just going to give from money you don't really have so that you're further in debt.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to give more, absolutely. First make some more and then give more.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So are you willing to step out of the story that in order to show you're growing, you should give way more than you're comfortable
Yes.
with? If you want to get out of your comfort zone in giving, then it's a matter of setting up a budget where you're giving a small amount of that budget to a fund for giving each month, right? And getting out of this belief, well, I can't afford to give any money into that fund right now because I don't have a lot. That's where most people are, is that I can't afford to give, I don't have enough. But
Mhm.
here's the thing, when you're willing to create that, when you're willing to give just for the joy of giving, because you know it's going to have an impact on someone, then what you're saying to the universe is, I have so much money, I can afford to give some away. And when you're throwing that out to the universe is going to start responding, saying, oh, okay, well, you've got so much money, you can afford to give some away. I got to make sure I keep giving you enough money so you can keep giving it away. And you'll see that money flow in. Okay. All right. How you doing?
All right, I'm doing good.
Okay.
If there's
Cool.
no other hands up to ask more questions.
Well, does anyone else want to get work done? I don't see any more hands. There's no one else putting up their hand. I wonder if everyone's shy. Okay, ask another question.
Okay, so there's something that I'm practicing right now where I'm trying to learn how to be prayerful. And that's kind of like meditativeness, which basically means that, you know how when you're asking, most people when they pray, they're asking for something, either for security or material goods or relationships. But I recently learned that's a really bad thing to do, because like God is way bigger than you. So why are you asking something way bigger than you that already know what you want? So you should be just like worshiping or thankful, but you shouldn't be asking. Does this make sense?
So what you want to do is put the ask out there. Right? But once you've put the ask out there, you want to be in trust that the ask you've put out there is going to be answered. Right? When you keep asking over and over again, what you're saying is, I don't actually believe it's coming, so that's why I got to keep asking. You haven't delivered it, you're not delivering it, so I'm asking and I keep asking and asking. When you put the ask out there and then just say, okay, it's out there now, I just have to wait for the results to show up. Then the next step is, okay, I've put it out there. Now I'm going to be in more awareness. How can I make this happen? Because once it's out there, things start to move to give you the thing you want. But you still have to be part of the process. Now, sometimes things just show up and you're like, oh, cool, it arrived. Right? But a lot of the times you've got to put action into place. You've got to take steps. You've got to go coach some people or do some advertising or meet these people or whatever it is. But when you're doing that, you're just in this alignment that I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to show up. I'm just going along for the ride. I'm taking the action to be a part of this process. But every holy text has in some form, ask and you shall receive, because the ask has to go out there in the first place. But they don't have ask every single day and you will receive. That's just that one time, ask and you will receive. Right? Because then remember that what you believe, your primary thoughts, the things that you are observing, is what you create in reality. So if your mind is focused on a single thought that this is going to happen, then it will eventually happen. It has to. This has been proven down to a quantum physics level. That's how the universe works. The problem is most of our thoughts aren't in alignment with that one thought. So if your thought is, I'd like to have paying clients for my business, if that's your thought, you put that ask out. I would like to have some really great paying clients for my business. And so now that's out there. It's gone out there. But then if your prevalent thoughts are, I don't have those clients, I can't find those clients, no one wants to pay me, you're putting all those thoughts out there. And now they're knocking out the first thought because you've got so many of those thoughts going out. And this is why people have problems manifesting, because you have to hold on to a thought over and over and over consistently for that thing to manifest, because the counter thoughts, which are the current reality, I don't have the clients, I don't know where to find the clients, no one wants to pay me, those are the ones that run in your head most of the time now.
So
And so it's training your brain to get into the right thought.
So you know how you often teach it's not the money you want, it's what you actually want, like your tickets for your cousin's concert tickets, which you talked about this morning. And so all I really want to do is in this great being place. And
Mhm.
I found the object that if I just sit in front of it, I'm basically in the being space the whole time. And I realized that the only thing I really want to do isn't necessarily to get a ton of money or even like a lot of money, but I just want to be able to spread, like maybe get this object for other people or bring or have a nice enough house just so that people can experience this with me. And so because of that, I'm realizing that like I just want to bring this experience to more people, this being energy, which you have yourself and how I've experienced it through your workshops before. And so
Mhm.
so technically I shouldn't be asking for money. I should just be finding as many ways as possible to hold a public space for people to come into this environment or to promote it online and like, does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's nothing to do with the money.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, you can absolutely just create the space and have people show up and enjoy the space. But you can also create the space and tell people, well, it's $5 to show up and enjoy the space, right? It, the the thing is to have that space, let people see the value of that space, and then see if they want more of that. And that's where people are willing to pay, right? If you give people a taste of something amazing, they will pay you for more of that. But if the goal is just to share the space, then just share the space.
Mm. I, I kind of feel that I don't really want money because if I really did, I would be putting like so much effort, all my focus on my business, which I don't.
Yep.
So since what I really want is just to be in that environment, which I have in my home, and technically, like I want to just sit in front of this thing and just be in that being space all the time. And yet I realize if I want to be able to help other people experience this. So it's not just being in a being space. I want to help other people be in that being space too. So how does that work?
So then create an event.
Um, yeah.
You can try and teach people about how you get into that space. Remember, just because they come to the event doesn't mean they're going to enter that being space. It's still going to have to be an educational or an experiential thing where people can tap into it and appreciate it. But you have to create the event.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Shiraz.
You're welcome. Let's put you back in the audience. All right. So if anyone else wants to be worked on, you can raise your hand and I will promote you to a panelist. I'm going to continue with what I talked about with the giving and the receiving. So again, don't give unless you're in a position that you're okay not getting it back. So that way there's no owing going on. Ooh, and Adrian's got a hand up. I don't know if it's a male Adrian or female Adrian. I'll get it right to you. But then on the receiving end, it's if you receive something, if someone gives you a gift, then thank them and the transaction is over. Don't feel you owe them anything, because if you owe them something, it's no longer a gift, it is a transaction, right? Like it is exchange of goods. It's no longer a gift. So sometimes you get a birthday present, you think, oh, they gave me a birthday present, I have to give them a birthday present on their birthday because I have to balance it out. But then again, that's not a gift, it's an exchange. And I'm not saying if someone gives you a gift, don't give them something on their birthday. But if their birthday comes up and you're in a space, I would really appreciate their friendship. I want to get them a birthday present. It's a different transaction entirely. It may look to the rest of the world like they give you a gift and you give them a gift. And they give you, but it's actually separate transaction that you're just receiving, going, oh my God, this person appreciates me. I'm so thankful for the gift. And then at a different time of the year, I'm so grateful for that person in my life. I'm going to give them a gift, right? So it could look like a normal exchange, but it's not. It's a different energy. It's a different space for you because now you're in the joy of giving, not in the, oh, thank God I've balanced the scales. See what I'm getting at here? Okay, let's bring Adrian up. Let's see what's going on. It's a male Adrian. Okay.
Hi.
Hey,
Hey. How do I pronounce your name?
Shiraz.
Shiraz. Hi. Thank you, Shiraz, for bringing it up. I have a few questions, and I wonder. So when I ask question, should it be to be related to the topic you're talking today, or I can ask anything?
Go ahead and ask anything.
Okay. We were talking about belief. This is my first time in this Zoom call, and
Okay.
I want your opinion on some mysterious issues that's happening with me that may have something to do with belief.
Okay.
So from 6 years ago, I actually run a very private psychic business. I dabbed into occult and I got pretty good with it.
Mhm.
And I used my knowledge to help people.
Okay.
But from 3 years ago, I start to have a heartache pain whenever I try to access my power. So this heartache pain always tells me that I am doing something incorrect, but I cannot pinpoint what was I doing wrong. I ask my own motivation of doing this business. I know that I have darker side associated with these type of abilities. I know
Mhm.
that this type of ability boosts a person's ego and kind of further, how do you say, push them into the path of separation sometimes. But in other way, I always think that the way I do it is for the benefit of myself and other people at the same time. So I'm not using it to take advantage of other people. But this
Mhm.
heartache continues, blocking me from accessing further knowledge. Even I want to learn more knowledge about astrology or different ways of reading cards. It will
Mhm.
block me from getting there. So that
Okay.
is why I followed this achy feeling, and I get down from the spiritual field to do a very physical kind of job, which is a financial advisor, using my degrees to do that. But I've when I compare my two situations, when I was doing my psychic job,
Mhm.
it was really, really easy for me to make money. So I just sit around. I don't even have to do anything.
Okay.
As long as I have one client, they will keep referring people to me. But now I'm selling life insurance, which is a whole nother story. People don't even ask me for what I can give anymore. I thought that when I was this mysterious wizard-like person, people were so
Mhm.
drawn to me and they would give money. But now it's like it's very different when you get into this kind of this physical world. And I think a lot about what this means to me. That maybe I'm learning to ground, to become more advanced in this physical realm. But
Mhm.
I also feel really very kind of destroyed. My confidence kind of was wounded because the whole two different career paths is a very different level of difficulty to me. And
Okay.
I was doing very well on that side, but this physical issue, this intuition pain, asked me to stay away from it. So I wonder what was the belief from it. When I was in my meditation state, I asked myself, is this because reviewing so much to a client isn't doing the best service at all? Isn't so I was like having a lot of issues with this work. So I wonder from this description of my story, what have you seen?
Okay. So there's a few things that come up.
Okay.
Number one, is there a physical price to pay for following the spiritual path?
Is there a physical price to pay for following the spiritual path? I feel that I didn't want to believe it when I first started the spiritual path, but when I get into the spirituality, I find that every time um, it is very physically demanding to me. When I was
Okay.
doing psychic work, it's a lot of energy goes up. And to maintain my power, I went on celibacy. So
Okay.
there is a price. I paid a price to maintain that level of awareness or the third eye movement, I guess. And I was forced to do that because when I don't follow it, when I want to live as a mortal, I suffer so much. There's tons of nightmare. My energy gets like disintegrated very quickly. But if I practice this like really monk-like lifestyle, it centers my energy. So there is a physical price I paid to achieve what I have now.
Okay. And this is the thing, your belief is that there's a physical price to pay. So you manifested a physical price to pay. And that's what shows up in your life now. You get that physical pain because you're, number one, you're using your own energy when you're doing all this. Right? And you've got a universe full of energy and you're using yours. So what if you stopped using your energy?
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah, I want to hear a method for me to tap into a wider range of source because I try to push away out of my own source to kind of reach to another place to get my energy to fill myself up. But every time it leaks even more. I don't know why.
Okay, so what happens is your ego can tell you the energy has to come from you because that's the only way it's going to work if it's your energy. And that's just ego talking. Right? When you step out of ego and realize that you're connected to everything, you're connected to all energy and just like everyone else, so you can tap into energy from anywhere and there's a universe worth of energy, then you stop using your own energy when you're working on other people. You just pull in energy from where you want and use it to get the results you want. So, okay. Are you willing to destroy the belief that you have to use your own energy to help other people?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Should you receive lots of money for using spiritual gifts?
I never actually thought about this. I never really thought about that. I never really thinking about that. When I think about that, now I'm thinking about that. I feel like in my belief system, maybe I shouldn't. I feel like it is taking advantage of other people's unawakeness.
Okay. And a lot of spiritual people feel that way, and that's why they don't make a lot of money. And if they do start making a lot of money, they get uncomfortable. So they make themselves sick, or they make themselves feel pain, or they make the clients go away so that they can reduce it and feel comfortable again.
I see.
Right? But a spiritual gift isn't any different from any other gift. If you're a gifted carpenter, it doesn't mean you should do work for people for free just because you've got a gift. Right? There are gifted singers, people are paying them millions to buy their music, and it's a gift. If you've got a spiritual gift, it's no different. People are willing to pay for the value that you bring to them, and you should be willing to accept that payment. So are you willing to step out of the story that it's wrong to get paid for using your spiritual gifts?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. Now, the last one is another ego-based thing. Is there a sort of a nobility that you have to go through pain when you're trying to help people?
I think that consciously I wouldn't want that. but there's something deeper I haven't been able to penetrate inside my own psyche
Hmm.
that keeps repeating this pattern. I know that
Yeah.
I can see it, but every time I think that's when those subconscious belief went so deep, it manifests in a physical nerve system reaction. It's harder to get them to surrender to a higher will. I wonder what is the way to kind of to actually penetrate my own rigid belief when I already can see them, but I don't know why they're still their physical symptoms still lingers.
So, and this is where the ego can trip you up, because there's two sides for it. One is the personal side. Look at the sacrifice I'm making in order to help people. Look at the pain I'm going through. Look what I'm willing to do. But then the flip side is, will other people see it? Will other people see, oh, look what Adrian's going through. Look what he's willing to do to help us, because then that also feeds the ego from the other side. So you get it both internally and externally.
Mm.
When you're willing to let all of that go, and it can become effortless. It can feel like you're not even really trying, and people are getting results. But if people get results, they don't care if it looks like you're trying or it doesn't look like you're trying. They care about the results. Right? So, are you willing to step out of the story that you need to show yourself and others how much you're willing to sacrifice to help other people?
I am.
Ooh, wow, some energy there. Okay, how does that feel?
It definitely gave me some insights to kind of question myself about. Can I keep asking, or do I have to leave the pen?
Let's see. Does anyone else want to get worked on? Throws your hand up. If not, we're going to keep going with Adrian. No hands. Ask another question.
Okay, so I was listening to Arthur talking about the state of being he really enjoyed.
Mhm.
It's quite almost ironic to me that I actually never entered there.
Okay.
I know there is a space, a state of being. I actually entered like once or twice, but very unconscious. Like I didn't will it to happen; it happened itself. But then I become this meditative person. I established a very disciplined meditation habits to
Mhm.
try to get there by myself, but I can never enter there. There is always this restlessness that happens in my mind that I know. I think that in the spiritual community, a lot of psychic are really good at meditation. They can empty their mind, but I just can't. Even when I was reading people, which can be like really crazily accurate a lot of time, but it is not in that space. I know it is in my when I was doing my reading to other people, it is a beastie state. It's very different than what I was taught or what is popular. I would say that in the spiritual community, I was in this beastie space that every senses get more attuned. I feel more like an animal, and then I can see the cause of the other person's pain, and I can almost like a snake or a scorpion to kind of scoop that things out and then show it to them. It's a very Scorpio energy that I use, but it's not a peaceful beingness, which Arthur described, and a lot of spiritual people describe that they just enjoy the state of being. And when that happened, state of being happened to me, one day I was like completely out of my mind. I was just thinking about something else, and I see a bird. I was so amazed in the beauty of it, but suddenly I sensed there's something different, profoundly changed within me that was so peaceful. But that was the rare occasion that I went there. So I wonder what was keeping me away from this sacred space.
when you're working on someone, are you fighting their demons?
Yes, a lot of
Okay.
time. I am
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is the thing, you're in this sort of beast mode because you feel you've got to fight their demons. So you want to be, you're getting into a space where the snake or the scorpion can take out their demons. It can take them out and then remove them. So that's the mode you're going into. And that can work. I mean, you can get results with that. But you can also be in a space of, well, I'm going to work with them and I'm just going to remove the demons. I mean, there's not going to be a fight. They're just going. And that can get you a different space. And I'm not saying you have to switch over, because if what you're doing works, if it's getting results and it's not hurting anyone, then you can do it. And you can use that mode to fight people's demons and get rid of them. But there are a whole bunch of different modes, and each practitioner does things differently,
Mhm.
right? So you just have to figure out what works for you, and then just realize, well, that's what you use when you're working with people. When you're looking at the bird and feeling beauty, that's another mode, and you can just shift to that other mode whenever you like. But what you're doing is you're convincing yourself, this is the way I function. It's the only way I know how to function. And so then these little moments where you have that peace becomes an anomaly rather than just you switching to a different mode.
Mm.
So are you willing to step out of the story that the only way you're effective is when you're in this beast mode?
Mm. That's very, very helpful. I have to really think about this one.
Okay.
I really have to really ask myself this question: am I willing to really accept this peacefulness? Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
So what's coming up now is, if you accept the peacefulness, will that take away the effectiveness of your beast mode?
that's another question. I don't know. Would
Okay.
if I
But
accept the
that's what,
peacefulness, will I lose my beastie ability?
yeah. But this is the thing. It doesn't have to be that way, right? It's like, if you learn how to ride a motorcycle, it doesn't mean you drive a car any worse, right? You can still drive the car and drive the motorcycle. It's just another skill set. So when you learn to tap into this peacefulness, it doesn't mean you have to lose any effectiveness using that technique with being a beast. It just means now you've got more techniques you can use. And you may find that some clients require you to be the beast just because of the state they're in, and some require you to go to that peacefulness state because that's what's going to work for them. It opens up more options to you. It's not an either or. And that's where your brain just went. If I go peace, do I have to give this up? No, you don't. You can have both.
Mhm. So I have one last question, was about physicality again, because my intuition manifests as this physical pain in me. And from the end of last year, actually the beginning of this year, and it started to have this reaction towards food. I went 6 years ago when I switched into the spiritual side, I became vegan because that was how teachers teach. I was really new in the field. I don't know anything. So they taught me that being vegan will give you pure physical vessel, I guess.
Okay.
And when I adopt that belief, it really worked really well. I felt so much lighter, and I have like a really good access towards higher realm of information. But from last year, things start to, it's almost like the vegetables, the great healthy food, organic food I was eating is still not good enough for me anymore. And this heart pain started pushing me into not eating at all. And then I started to come back with my fear. Okay, am I gonna starve or die if I don't eat? Or eating is eating basically it rejects anything except for water, I guess. It only, when I drink water, it does not have this reaction. But now I still eat because my family and the friends around me seeing me like following this heart and losing a lot of weight, they get really upset and worried. And I also have this fear about, okay, am I gonna die and starve myself to death if I just don't eat? So Now I'm combating. It's like my daily struggle is to decide whether I'm gonna eat or not today. So this is a struggle.
Yeah, but it comes back to what we talked about earlier, is you had that story of what you have to sacrifice to be in that spiritual place, to be on your spiritual journey. You don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to be in pain to access your skills. You've chosen that so you can show how much you're willing to sacrifice. As you step out of that story, then you can find that the pain isn't necessary. You made the decision that my gift requires that I feel pain. You don't have to be in that story anymore. Your gift doesn't require that you feel pain.
Okay. Okay. I have to meditate on it. And thank you so much for your help. I will keep myself, I will think about them. And I think it's time for me to like get down to the attendees. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks for being on. And we have a little bit more time left. Let's go to Gurjeet. There she comes.
Yes, hi Shiraz. Is it okay if I remain off camera?
Sure, let's go with it.
Okay. So what I was struggling with is, I know you spoke about receiving and, just balancing the two, but I find it a strong, there's a strong cultural influence. Like whenever somebody gives you something, you have to say no, 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 and try not to take it. And that's just the opposite of, receiving. So, I mean, it's like you mentioned earlier, it's better to give than to receive. So when somebody gives you something, you have to refuse it. Otherwise, you're not being polite.
Yeah, and that's all cultural. That's not helpful for you spiritually. All right. If you're doing it as part of a routine, but you're going to receive it anyway, well, you can go through the routine and do it and refuse it a couple times and receive it just because that's what your culture does. But for me, I dropped all the cultural norms a while ago. And so if someone says, hey, you know what, I'll pay for dinner, I'm like, thank you. Absolutely. Go for it. And I'm not going to go, oh, no, you don't have to. No, it's all right. And then finally go, okay, it's all right. No, I'm just going to thank them right off the bat. All right. And it's just easier that way. And they can see the genuine appreciation from me right away. And that's why, like, if I offer to pay dinner, I'm not looking for people to say, no, 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 you don't have to. I'm just like, I'm paying. People are like, okay, we know you, you got it, thank you, and we're done. And there's a lot of like, what's the word, rituals in a lot of cultures about how you're supposed to behave and what you're supposed to say and what you're supposed to do. And it comes originally from that need to make other people feel special and appreciated and set things up so there's this nice exchange and respect. But it's dated, and sometimes it's changed over the years, so it just isn't really effective. It doesn't apply. So when you drop all the cultural norms, you can keep doing it with your family, but in the rest of your life, just receive openly. And if you want to give, then give openly, but don't give out of obligation. Don't give to incur obligation, and receive without feeling you're obligated. It makes life so much easier. And when the people around you get what you're doing, you may have to explain it to, but when they get it and they start doing it, and everyone is now just doing this from a place of love and generosity and not obligation, it changes all your relationships.
Yes, I get that. But what can you do to increase your receiving, even while being, surrounded by people who think the other way, who don't think like you at all?
Why are you surrounding yourself with people that don't think the way you are?
Like family, you have to be with family, right?
No, you don't have to be with family. Why do you have to be with family? Because
you live with them. And so if you don't behave the way that's socially acceptable, they'll say, why are you doing that? That's rude. You shouldn't do that.
Okay. So again, I said you can adapt to mimic the customs without going into the energy. but the belief that you have to live with a family, if that family is limited, if that family has beliefs of lack or frustration or whatever it is, that's your decision to live with those people, right? And I know in a lot of people in a situation where I can't leave because I can't afford to move out, or it's a situation with family that's just, there's no way I can get out of it. Remember, all these are stories you're creating to stay where you're actually comfortable. But when you step up into your story, here's the really cool things about stories. Whoever's story is strongest wins. And it doesn't mean you're pushing your story on other people, but when you're really powerful in your story, in that it's okay to just receive freely, then other people can start to buy your story, right? Whoever's story is strongest wins. So you can actually affect the people in your family by being in a space of happiness, of being willing to receive more and more, not necessarily from your family, because that's there, but from other sources. And your family's there as well. But the more and more you're open to receiving, and they see you receiving, and they see how powerful your story is, the more they can buy your story. But what you're telling me right now is your family controls your story and you don't. And as long as you believe that, you are trapped in the reality they're choosing to create.
That makes a lot of sense. So just choose to think differently, and and when you're with them, of course, if they're happy in a certain way, just do that. But in your heart, just be open to receiving. That's what I'm getting.
And the more you can surround yourself with people that are empowered, that are seeking to create more and be more, that just accept you without having to put all sorts of rules around you, then the more your story is going to amp up, the more you're going to create, the more you're going to receive, the more you're going to grow, all of that. But if you keep saying you'd like to change, but you don't change your environment, it's going to be harder to change. And that doesn't mean you have to move out from your family, but you can be living with your family and then start hanging out with a lot more empowered people, so that the amount of time you spend with empowered people grows, which means you start to grow, which means your story changes. But I see it a lot. People are like, well, but I live with my family. I'm like, do you hang out with anyone else? Well, no, I'm always with my family. Stop always being with your family if they're limiting your life, if they're limiting their own lives, if they're always upset or angry or down. Stop spending so much time with them.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I think I have my question answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. There's no more hands up, and we are almost at the top of the hour. So I'm going to call it for today. Remember, a musical evening of giving. See, I got it right, Jessica. I'm reading it. That's why I got it right. A musical evening of giving is Saturday. Please show up for that. Coming up also coming up tonight, if you are paying attention to last Mondays, there are 2 more sessions, one at 6:30 and one at 10 p.m. Eastern time, free webinars. And I will be working on people during the webinars, but I'm also going to be teaching some really cool things. And New Year's Eve is coming up, and my annual New Year's Eve event is happening 1 o'clock Eastern, clearing the negative energies and limiting beliefs of 2021. There's a lot of crap that happened this year, and this is an opportunity to get a bunch of it pulled out of your system, start the new year fresh, light, happy. So that is happening. Do I have a link to that? I have a link to that. And I not only have a link to that, I've got a link that gets you half off for that event. So that's going on. You throw it in Facebook too. That's it. Cool. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for joining me for Rewriting Reality. I will try and have my regular background back next time if I can find it somewhere on my hard drive. And hi, Jessica. I saw you making comments. I was going to say something. I can't remember what I was going to say, but that's it. Have a great day. Be well, be aware, be magical. Bye-bye.